It's time for a cup of coffee with Will and Chris at Slumberland Furniture. From Slumberland Furniture in Osage Beach, here are your hosts, William Holtz and Chris Schneider.
Oh boy, are we ready for this week's cup of coffee from Slumberland at the Lake. I'm Wild Will.
I'm Uncle Chris.
Man, Uncle Chris, did you see the Morgan County Sheriff Deputy Justin Dill story? Man, that really got some legs this week.
Boy, oh boy, a lot of people talking about that, and that's good because that needs to come out into the light.
I think they wanted that to go away. I'm not so sure that's going away. And on this week's show, we're going to follow up on the Oasis at Lakeport condo development with the TIF and the condo owners and the where people are going to live. We're going to talk about the condo owners in particular today, plus, you know, the Osage Nation Casino. City of Lake Ozark had tabled their resolution of support and whether they were going to do that. Well, they could be revisiting that at Tuesday's meeting that already took place, so we'll tell you about that. Plus, Miller County, I'm telling you, that was a huge bust. Did you see that they made?
I did, a scary bust, because it included some fentanyl and all that stuff.
That's why that's so huge for the deaths that possibly prevented. Plus, we may finally get to a very special hometown hero. Maybe. All that and more. But first, we got to hear from our friends at Slumberland at the Lake. They're getting ready to have this huge flash sale going on right now. It's only 3 days. And not only they got that, but Daryl Cunningham. What else you guys got going on?
Hey, everyone. Daryl Cunningham with Slumberland Furniture at the Lake. You need to come check out our flash sale going on now here at the store. We've got special deals on recliners, take care of Dad for Father's Day. We've got outdoor patios that are also on great deals. You need to come check it all out. We can deliver the entire lake area, offering 36 months interest-free financing. Slumberland Furniture, where we're bringing happy home.
Yeah, I would take advantage of that. Hopefully you get to see this episode of Cup of Coffee before Friday when the sale ends on the 16th, because that flash sale is out of control.
Yeah, everything's out of control here at Slumberland. This is just such an amazing place. They have so much here, something for every room in the house. Got to come check it out.
Yeah, we absolutely love them. So as we start this week's show, sad news, I'm sure most people know, we pay tribute to a very dear friend. The Lake community lost a great man on Sunday, Tony Stucken, and the tributes, I don't know if you saw on Facebook, Chris, they come rolling in from friends and family and coworkers and people who Tony had impacted, childhood sweethearts, and of course all of his lake friends. And whether you knew Tony for years or you knew Tony for minutes, it didn't matter because you became a friend with him very quickly. He served our country in the U.S. Army. He was a Distinguished Honor Guard graduate of the U.S. Army School in the spring of 1999 from Fort Gordon, Georgia. And I know he also spent time in Korea. And he knew no stranger, Chris. He loved to laugh, being with friends. And as you think about Tony, really the thing you think about is that big, infectious Tony smile that he wore and brought with him everywhere he went, and we can be grateful for the time that we knew and got to share Tony. And myself and our entire team, Uncle Chris here at Lake TV, we join you in grieving this challenging loss of a dear friend, and we lift up all the friends and family of Tony Stucken during this terrible loss. And lastly, just rest in peace to a great man.
Yeah, I got to know Tony business-wise and personally. Like you said, very gregarious, didn't meet anybody, didn't like, and just had that going for him. He was an amazing, he really was kind of a genius in IT, technical stuff. And so he helped a lot of people that way, certainly made a lot of money for the companies that he worked for, but he was also a hero. We had him on the Community Spotlight show here on Lake TV, primarily to talk about he was at the Pentagon on 9/11. When the plane came in, hit the Pentagon. He got out, but went back in. He and a buddy that actually, he didn't know this guy, but they got together and they worked together that day on 9/11 to go back in. And I think it was they got like 34 or 35 people out of the Pentagon that would not have made it out. Very heroic, amazing story, but it also came with a price because he had to make some decisions when he was going back in. Some people he had to leave because they were hurt too bad. He couldn't save them. And I said, does that ever haunt you? And he said, yeah, it definitely does. So He was a hero. It came with a price. It's amazing that he could go from there and, and turn into the gregarious, fun-loving kind of person that he was. But he is going to be missed.
Yeah, in that interview, I think it was October of 21, and that's pinned to the top of Lake TV's Facebook page, so you can watch that entire interview with Tony. It brought a smile to my face just getting to see him sit there, and he was always such a supporter of Lake TV, always so complimentary of us and B&I, and, it was always a friend, and we sure are thankful that we knew Tony Stucken. All right, so as we move forward, Chris, to our next local story. A lot was on Facebook and a lot of headlines in regards to the Lake Oasis, or the Oasis at Lakeport, the new development, with the amusement park, the Marriott Hotel and Conference Center. Mm-hmm. Now, a lot of misconceptions and a lot of lack of knowledge, it seems, on what exactly is going to happen to the Lakeport condo owners. And of course, on Thursday, June 1st, at that Board of Aldermen meeting, Chris, where they unanimously approved the second hearing to move forward with the developers and their TIF agreement and redevelopment plan. One of those concerns that was really voiced at that was that the condo owners and deed holders at Lakewood Condos, what meant for them, or what does this mean for them? And here's what Alderman Richard Ross said during the June 1st Osage Beach Board of Aldermen meeting.
Any other comments or questions? Alderman Ross.
I just have one quick comment. There was a lot of conversation about the timeshares last meeting and how, there may be concerns that people don't want to sell. I just want to say, to my knowledge, no one has complained yet from the timeshare group that owns a timeshare about this project. We've had several people come and ask. I'm sure you've been exposed to them also about how do I sell? I'd like to get out. But there's some implications out there on social media and so forth that we're being Big Brother and, there people are going to get thrown out and things like that. And to this date, no one spoke against this from the timeshare community. So I just wanted to state that.
That's good.
And so maybe he's not being inaccurate when he says that he haven't heard that concerns. But my question is, have the condo owners actually had the chance to voice their opinions and their concerns? Now, there's a group started on Facebook. It's called the Lakewood Condo Owners. And through this group, I was able to get in contact with Michelle Wolf, and she's the owner of 3 Weeks at Lakewood Condos. And she says to me, I actually think we're being kept in the dark, and we have been for so long, I'm not sure what to do. In one of her Facebook posts, she lays out her timeline of the first rendering in October 22 that shows the Lakewood condos, and then the updated one from March 23. Now there's no Lakewood condos. Reached out to the HOA Board of Lakewood, and they told Michelle, and that's the owners that make up the board and kind of represent the Lakewood condos, that they are not in negotiations with the developer at that point in time. And there's a photo right there. I was able to find online the Lakewood HOA Board of Aldermen. There's their names and their photos. She says she really learns things as they're reported in the news and is being told that most owners are deceased or want to sell, but she claims the resort is full every weekend with the majority of the people on property are being owners. On the May 18th Board of Aldermen meeting, she noted that developer Tegethoff stated that offers and counteroffers were made, and Lakewood had asked the developer to give them until May 31st. Michelle Wolf says that her, along with other owners, knew nothing about these negotiations, and she stated she's fearful that the city of Osage Beach is helping the developers push owners out without input from them. She says, really, we want to deny or delay the super TIF process. That way, the condo owners have time to negotiate and reach an equitable agreement, and she is begging to not let the city and developer back the owners into a corner. Chris, one of the things that was interesting is they sent an email to the city of Osage Beach to ask some information following the June 1st meeting, and it wasn't actually the city that replied to her or even the city's legal team. It was the legal team for the developer, Jeff Tegethoff, and it was Patrick Eckelkamp, and he's a partner with Hush Blackwell Law Firm. And he sent this letter out to everybody, and in the letter, it really tells the condo owners and says, hey, we understand your concerns, Here's a timeline of when we made our initial offer, when the counter offer from the HOA Board of Aldermen or Board of Directors was sent back. Here's the date that we countered back. He even went on to say in the letter, we've tried to get with condo owners. We've offered. They won't give us information on you guys. And so essentially, the legal team for the developer is telling all the condo owners, like, we are trying, and it appears that it's the Lakewood HOA that are preventing anything from getting done, and that's the way the letter looked. But the letter looks suspect just because it's coming from the legal team of the developer with a copied on it all of the city, from the mayor to the legal counsel to the attorney for the city, and even the outside counsel for the city. But it came from the legal team representing the developer, and when you reach out to the city, that would almost appear as if the city and the developer seem to already be in bed on this if their legal team is sending replies to people reaching out to the city. Now, maybe that's common, but that seems odd to me.
Yeah, it is interesting. And again, I don't know if that is the normal way of operations. It might be, it might not be. And it just seemed interesting. There was also, we got an email that was sent back to that Michelle Wolf lady from Alderman Richard Ross.
And that's the one that we had played that clip of.
Right. And some very interesting stuff, because Richard Ross said the Board of Aldermen did not blight the Lakewood property. Okay, that's some big information there. If they haven't blighted that property, then the developer is going to have to figure out a way to buy out the owners of that condo in order to take that off the scene, right? Ross went on to say, in my mind, the condition of the Lakewood property is just fine. It's up to the developer to obtain ownership of the entire redevelopment area. This is coming from Alderman Richard Ross, talking to one of the owners there. And then Ross said, I feel for the owners. After several owners reached out to city staff to gain information about selling their interests, I understand our city attorney contacted the POA board's attorney, etc. So it seems like in this email back to one of the condo owners, Alderman Ross is saying, hey, we did not blight those condos, and the developer is going to have to find a way to work it out with the deed holders there, the condo owners, if they're going to develop there. So there's still a whole lot of work to be done on this as far as those condos go.
Yeah, I agree. And at first, it does appear that based on what Alderman Ross had said at the meeting, that, he was uninformed. But at this point now, maybe the condo owners weren't able to get to the city. And now that they have, I can see Alderman Ross as being diligent and at least communicating with the condo owners and keeping them informed. But it is odd to me that, and maybe, like you said, maybe that is normal, but that when I reach out to the city that I live in and the one that's supposed to be protecting my interest, I don't want to get a response from the legal counsel of the developer that's coming in and that I'm not down with, I'm opposed to, essentially. Yeah. I don't want to get a reply from them, even if they can make it look real pretty and really dissect everything. I don't want that from them. I want my city talking to me. And so my question is, for the city of Osage Beach, what alderman falls in that ward where the Lakewood condos are, and why did we get to the point that at the second reading of accepting the redevelopment plan and the TIF agreement, and it's been voted on, does the comment then say, well, we haven't heard anything from these owners, they don't seem to be opposed to it? Well, it's too late because you've already agreed to the TIF. And so my question is, why did the alderman that belongs to the ward, wherever the Lakewood condos are at, not go meet with, check with, and talk with some of these owners prior to? And one other interesting thing, if you look at this story from Lake Expo, from May of 2023, the rendering that was provided to them, I assume by the developer, boom, you see right there the Lakewood condos are in there. But if you backtrack to the April rendering that was provided in the Lake Expo story, no Lakewood condos, but now a year or a month later, all of a sudden the Lakewood condos rendering is still there, almost as, oh crap, we might have given the wrong rendering, And so there do seem to be some interesting things, and I will say, I've been able to gather a list of owners that I know for certain are not feel like they're being informed and have a voice. And Cindy Bramlage, Tina and Ryan Wiley, Heather Foster, Kelly Weir, Katie Swanson, Aaron Lewis, PJ and Erica Doby are all deed owners at Lakewood Condos that are saying, we're not down with this at this point in time. Please do not move forward until we, as the condos, have an opportunity to negotiate an equitable agreement with the developer. They're begging you, the city, they're begging their own HOA. And so for you, the viewer, if you feel like, hey, someone needs to help these owners, they're asking for help. So now it would appear a few things are happening, Chris. I kind of think the developer and the city seem to like each other.
Yeah,
it would appear.
Seems like they're trying to make this work.
Yeah. And so I think the city really, really wants this development to happen. But I just don't think at this point anyone's given the condo owners a true voice. And now that we're starting to see their voice come to light, I think even more questions and concerns are going to start coming to the surface. And I will also say that I feel for the Lakewood HOA board of directors because they're deed owners and a lot of them may not be from here, and I don't know if they're paid. They're probably volunteers. I know a lot of boards like that are made up of volunteers. Can't be certain on that. And so they're probably, this is their vacation home for 2 to 3, 4 weeks. They probably send friends and family, whereas they don't necessarily have the time to deal with all this. They're like, we're getting it from the developer and the city and all these deed owners, and this is our vacation week. So I can see that they're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place and uncertain on how to move forward. And so I would just hope that the city will continue to be diligent in understanding that and protect both parties. Because this isn't to say that this is going to be a terrible thing, but it does need to be done within the parameters of the law and what protects the best interest of the residents for a long-term basis here at Lake of the Ozarks.
And this is actually very normal. I mean, in pretty much all developments like this, you come up against a problem of trying to acquire that kind of property. Doesn't matter if it's in, big New York City, where you've had developments build right around one little lot that would not sell, right? I mean, you've had that actually happen. And so this is kind of a normal thing. Like you said, you just want to make sure that the city is playing fair on both sides. I mean, I completely understand why the city wants this development. The city thinks this is going to be huge for us. This is big business. This is wonderful. This is going to be a great thing for the community, for the city and stuff like that. I understand that, but you still have this problem you got to deal with those condo owners, and you got to do that the right way. You can't do that the wrong way or everything goes sour and south.
Yeah, and I don't want the increased attention on the Lakewood condo to allow the other concerns to just go away. I mean, what about the road and bridge? What about workforce? What about affordable housing? And it does seem the lake is growing regardless of if we have an amusement park or not. And so I think we need to do it right and make sure that we handle some of these rising pressing issues that the lake is facing.
Yeah, and then you got that other development happening that's still in the early stages too, the mall development.
Correct.
Not to mention the 2 different casino things that are, there's a lot going on in the area right now. The city is dealing with a lot of stuff, all the towns around here. Osage Beach.
I'm ready for a nap.
Ozarks.
Can they slow down? Can the local sheriff's departments and can all the developers and all of the TIFs, can they just take a break for about 6 months?
Probably not. Probably not.
We are speeding up.
I bet like Mayor Harmison would probably love a break, from all this right now. Because, I mean, it's, and credit to all those people. I mean, this is not easy stuff. This is tough stuff to deal with. And, especially when you're dealing with multi-million-dollar developer and $1 million from the condo owners and all of that stuff. So.
Oh, Mayor Harmison's doing fine. He's probably having like a $3,000 steak with Jeff Takeoff in Kansas City right now because he's great at, he is good at meeting with these people and attracting them to the lake. And that's what you have to be as a local politician, as an ambassador for the area.
I think Harmison's doing a great job as mayor. It's a hard job, especially when you start getting into stuff like this where you're playing both sides, I mean, it's kind of tough.
All right, so we're going to shift focus from the city of Osage Beach to the city of Lake Ozark. And KRMS reported that at the Tuesday 613 meeting, which actually when we record, it takes place this evening. So we're not sure what takes place at tonight's meeting, but the KRMS story prepping for the meeting Tuesday reads, take 2 in Lake Ozark after passing in late May on a proposed resolution of support for the Osage Nation's plans to bring a casino to the city. City Administrator Harrison Fry says that this resolution would authorize city staff to engage in communications and also to obtain information. But when I talked to Mayor Newberry, Dennis Newberry, he's told me that, well, the KRMS story was not entirely accurate. He said he's been seeking relative information regarding the Osage Nation's sovereignty application process to build the casino and development plans so that the city of Lake Ozark can start to evaluate the impact on our town and our surrounding areas. To date, all he's been given is nothing but a picture, he says, and they have very little information to consider. And he stated letters of endorsement should only be given when you have lots of information to consider. And so it sounds like, again, Osage Nation, they want this letter of resolution or of recommendation, this resolution of recommendation from the city of Lake Ozark. And the city of Lake Ozark is saying, we can't. We don't know what you're going to do. We don't know what your plans are. All we have is a photo and that land sitting over there. We cannot endorse that. And so I asked the mayor, I said, do you feel like the Osage Nation Casino in Lake Ozark could still be a reality? To which he replied, I don't really have any information to base a response on. He said, I have always felt that they have a high level of likelihood up to this point. Other than that, I cannot see any movement in either direction at this point.
Interesting. I find that fascinating. And in this case, it sounds like the Osage Nation is kind of ghosting the city, not giving them a whole lot of information. The city, you know, the mayor, the alderman, they're saying, hey, tell us what's going on, what your plans are. And apparently they're not getting this information.
Correct.
So the Osage Nation, if they want this to happen, they need to get off their butts and stop trying to be so secretive and be honest and open about what they're doing, because it kind of almost looks a bit shady of, you know, what their plans are. Why not just come out and tell everybody what your plans are, what's going on? And I mean, they want this approval from the city, from the mayor and the alderman. Well, that's completely understandable. But in order to get that, the city needs to know what you're thinking and planning, and so that the city can hold the Osage Nation, you know, accountable for what they're going to do.
And Mayor Newberry, he also mentioned that they want an update regarding the Osage Nation's sovereignty application process.
Yeah.
Like, if they don't know where that process is at, how can they endorse that in good faith? And then if it comes back and it says, well, they didn't get the application wasn't accepted, they're not a sovereign nation, they're not going to be able to move forward, and you already endorsed it and said it was good, you're going to, again, get caught with your pants around your ankles. And so, great diligence from the city of Lake Ozark.
That's exactly right. I mean, good for the alderman and for Mayor Newberry, because if they come out and endorse something, they don't really know what's happening. Boy, that could come back and haunt them in a big way.
And it would appear that Osage Nation needs this endorsement.
Yeah,
you know, and I'm not exactly sure why at this point, why they need this endorsement at this stage in the game, but it's clear to me that they want this endorsement, so it's got to be critical to them.
And I think part of what's playing into this is there's two different casino organizations wanting to come into the area. There's the one that wants to put another casino on the Osage River, right? There's that, and that's different from the Osage Nation Casino. Those are two different parties wanting two different casinos. So that might be putting the pressure on the Osage Nation. That might be why they're pushing for this approval from the city.
Yeah, interesting. And I know, again, now this is the update we gave you going into the meeting that took place Tuesday, which is actually tonight. I'm going to try to go there, and even if not, I am going to talk with Mayor Dennis Newberry, a couple of our aldermen, and I'm going to try to put an update on my William Holtz Lake TV Facebook page. That's separate. That's the page where we'll do some behind the scenes and go a little deeper, not to clog up the Lake TV feed because it stays so full. But I'll try to give you guys an update by Thursday or Friday, if not sooner, on what's going on, because a lot of people are asking that. Like, hey, what's up with the Osage Nation Casino?
Yeah, and it's really cool for us at Lake TV. We get thousands and thousands and thousands of views because so many people are interested in these stories that we're talking about. So that's great. Sometimes it's hard to keep up with it all, though. And you're doing an amazing job talking to everybody and finding out what's going on. Pretty impressive.
Well, we got a lot of talented individuals on our team and a lot of people that are so helpful in the community and help make this possible. And our agencies, we love when they do what they're supposed to do. And I know we've had some tough stories recently that we're called to do. We've got to do what's right. But this is a good one. And I want to applaud the Miller County Sheriff's Department because Lake Expo reports that authorities confiscated 1,000 counterfeit Percocet pills containing fentanyl in a traffic stop on Monday. Miller County Sheriff Louis Gregory says the increase of deaths from fentanyl overdose over the past year, the seizure of these drugs likely saved multiple lives within the community. And I would agree with him wholeheartedly.
Yeah, everything I'm hearing about this fentanyl is it is so deadly. And with the borders wide open down south, this stuff is just, I mean, it's really an invasion, not just people, but drugs and human trafficking and all that. I mean, this is a catastrophe down on the southern border.
It's huge, and they're trying to paint it as a race deal and an intolerance deal, and it's a safety deal at this point in time. You know, we don't allow people to come into our homes, right, in our own community. So why would you let people from countries that are known for sex trafficking without vetting these individuals? You're gonna start seeing an increase in issues and crimes and risk in our communities.
And the drug cartels are a huge part of it down on the border, and those drugs are spreading out across the country. And here it is in our backwoods right here with all this fentanyl. It was approximately 14 grams of, I don't know how to say that, psilocybin.
It's pretty good.
Mushrooms and drug paraphernalia. Donna Davis, Bryant Davis, Kaiser, Missouri, arrested, transported to Miller County Adult Detention Center. But approximately 1,000 counterfeit Percocet pills containing fentanyl. 1,000. If that gets out into the community with the fentanyl, that could have killed many people.
It could have indeed. And we're seeing this more and more, that these counterfeit pills and substances are being tested and traced back to having fentanyl, and that's super dangerous. Now, while at the jail, it also noted that Bryant allegedly attempted to dispose of a baggie he had concealed on his person in the jail. The baggie was recovered, and authorities said that's the baggie that the 1,000 counterfeit pills were in.
So there was even more than that. Wow.
Well, I think that's where he'd already been arrested for a traffic stop, and after searching the vehicle, they found the mushrooms and drug paraphernalia. But once they got him to a jail, he had hidden this baggie somewhere with 1,000 pills. Whoa, I'm not touching that one.
Don't want to go there.
I'm not touching that one. Good work, Miller County, and it's a relief to know that those 1,000 pills with fentanyl were going to be filtering out into our communities, filtering out for our kids to access, filtering out for our coworkers to potentially stumble upon. Big deal when we see this kind of fentanyl taken off the street. So good work to Miller County. Now, Chris, I'm telling you what, Lake TV seems like we can't get busier, and we just keep doing it. We have some great content right now. Who you got in the Community Spotlight show this week?
So timing is amazing. We've got Camden County Commissioner James Gohagan on, and we don't really talk, business, what's going on in the county and all the stuff. We just kind of find out more about Mr. Gohagan, where he comes from, what his story is, and all that stuff. So we get to know Commissioner Gohagan a little bit better on the Community Spotlight show. So you can see that every day at 9:02, 3:02, and 7:02. And then coming up next week, I think we're going to have more from the ladies at the Camden County Museum, local history. That is greatness. So be sure you check out the Community Spotlight show.
Hey, and listen, we've got other stuff coming up. Did you see DJ Kyle and Megan? I mean, it was DJ Kyle in the show. Megan's producing it with him. Did you see the stand-up paddleboard yoga?
I did see that,
That greatness?
That's amazing. DJ Kyle is just amazing. Right?
I do want to say that, the rapport that DJ Kyle and Megan have built together, that has become a really great outlet for local features, event coverage, and they're everywhere all the time.
DJ Kyle's getting married here in a couple months, too.
Baby.
Yeah,
that's
right.
awesome. Hey, don't forget about Weekend at the Lake with David Leatherberry. The rebrand is complete. David's doing a really nice job now with that. And also, listen, the LOZ featured doc series, we already have been filming it. It debuts Thursday, July 6th at 7:17. But listen, friends, I need docs to feature. Like the communication of people coming from Kansas City and Iowa and Oklahoma and something happening and their doc not being sprayed in time. Like, look, I need cool docs to feature. Let us come with a camera crew and have a blast at your doc for the day. So if you're interested, you can email me, laketvvoice@gmail.com. We're looking to start scheduling them for the first and second week of July, right after 4th of July. We'd love to feature your doc.
And on one of those shows, he does a backflip off a diving board like 25, 30 feet high. Got to see that.
Elevated jumping platform on the top of someone's dock that we featured with a slide right next to it. It was awesome.
It was amazing. You got to see it.
It was awesome. And also, lastly, July 1st, monthly market update with the Bruce and Kelly team, brought to you by MHQ. We're out the International Raceway. You don't want to miss that. And we're out of time.
Yeah.
See you next week.